Tonight, Race Tech brings us from Factory Honda, Ken Roczen's mechanic, Jordan Troxell. What's up, Jordan?
What's up, fellas? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Glad to finally get you on here.
Yeah, I've been trying for a while.
Yeah, you've been busy, though. I mean, there is a pro motocross series going on. You're a little busy.
Yeah, it's the norm. Seems like the weeks that you have off, I don't, and vice versa.
Right.
So glad we finally connected.
Yeah, me too, man. So you've been wrenching for Kenny for a few years, but how'd you get your start in the industry? I know you went to MMI and kind of got your foot in the door, I think, with Shea Bentley. Is that really what got it started?
Yeah, I did go to MMI. I graduated there January of 2008. It's funny, the Shea Bentley story comes in. It was that Florida Gold Cup series or whatever they run, winter, springtime. I was just a kid fresh out of school, getting ready to graduate, and I didn't want to, do any dealership stuff. So I started going to those Gold Cup races on the weekend, just kind of selling myself for free. Ended up running into Shea. Helped some of his kids out for a few weeks or a few months there while I was trying to get some other things sorted. And I just had a couple weekends there in the motorhome with him. Those are some good stories to look back on during that time for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine you probably get asked at least once every race. Probably somebody comes up to you, "Hey man, how do I get to do what you get to do?" And it comes down to almost you got to work your butt off for free for a while and get some connections.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has a different story, a different path. I feel like mine is one of the, I won't say the hardest, but as far as it's very linear as far as, starting from the bottom and just going around to those races and working on the weekends for free and handing out resumes. And those were the days where like Jimmy Dakotas and Justin Barsha were battling each other as amateurs.
Yeah.
Ian Treadle was battling AC on 80s. So I was there at those races, just, handing resumes out and trying to get noticed, and eventually got in the hands of Ronnie Goodwin's dad in Las Vegas, and ended up having a meeting with those guys. I was actually racing pit bikes kind of semi-professionally around that time also. So I was out there for Mini Moto and met Ronnie's dad, Ron, and ended up being hired on the spot. Ended up staying in Vegas for a couple of weeks. Everybody flew back, and just kind of started my career right there.
To me, where you're at now, Factory Honda, that's the pinnacle for a mechanic, for the technical side, for all the little cool things that you see on the Factory Hondas. Like that's the ultimate. Was that your ultimate?
As a kid, yeah, you definitely, I wouldn't necessarily say it was Factory Honda, but you definitely looked at, I came in that mid 90s era where MC and Skip Norfolk, the pairing and watching those guys on the TV. So Factory Honda definitely had a lure, but I was a Cowie kid growing up. Obviously, a KX60 and KX80 was a natural progression. So we had help from Kawasaki dealership. So I kind of always wanted to, just be on a factory team. But, fast forward, through a few years of amateur and privateer stuff, I just wanted to get on any team that had a good budget
Sure.
and where I could fly to the races and stuff like that. So, that kind of goes back to that linear progression thing where I just, never dreamed of being on a team like this. But if you just go up the ladder step by step, and whether you call it fortunate or luck or hard work or whatever, found myself here. So
the most interesting thing you said during that whole deal was you were racing pit bikes.
Yeah, your eyes raised a little bit, TJ.
Yeah, so I moved to Central Florida, Orlando, actually, to go to school, like right at the height of Orlando Water Sports Complex. So 2006.
Yeah.
Scene was real big down there. I had back in Virginia, my hometown, I had a track and a big group of friends, and we rode. And I don't know, kind of as a teenager, you just always have one of those aspirations. I wanted to be a professional pit bike rider and a professional mechanic. And the pit bike scene, like I said, it was hot and heavy then. And I just showed up, ran some stock stuff, started running some races, was able to compete with some of the guys like Chris Savage down there. Doug Sullivan rode for Dump Star. He's actually probably my best buddy to this day still. I remember the 156 CHP bike also. I ended up working at that track, the Orlando Water Sports Complex pit bike track, is kind of running the track. And man, that was kind of the heyday of life, really, because I'd run the track from like 4 to 8 for the kids and pick them up. And then Doug and my buddies would come over and we would just kind of have a private pit bike session on one of the coolest tracks in the country for a few hours every night.
Damn.
Just under the lights, just doing our thing. So,
dude,
I ended up there was a Swedish team. It was kind of a knockoff. It was called Pit Pro.
Yep.
They brought a couple bikes over and they wanted to get an American rider. They had this kid from Sweden, maybe. We ended up doing like a mini moto series up in New England with them. They kind of supported me there for a year before the whole scene went south. It's crazy to see, like 15, almost 20 years later, that there's this resurgence, this second surge of the craze. And it's just, it's awesome to see, but I also kind of laugh and like, you guys are 15 years behind the 8 ball. Like this thing already came and blew up and died once.
Being a factory mechanic, especially a guy of Kenny's caliber, there's a lot of pressure on that. And, at some point you essentially kind of have his life in your hands in a certain way. I just kind of want you to talk about the pride you take in your work and how serious you take, the intricate details of doing that.
I feel like that's one thing that I've always, held real pride in. And I learned from people at a young age. I think I spent 6 months with Naveen at Honda of Houston and around 2011 time. And that was one of the things that he really drove into me. It's always lasted with me, and I've always tried to teach it to some of the younger guys that I've tried to mentor throughout the years, is that it doesn't really matter what you have going on in your life, whether you're sick or you're stressed or you have emotional something going on at the house. Every day that you show up to work and you touch that motorcycle, every bolt that you touch, you have someone's life in your hand. And that always kind of really stuck with me, and it's still at the forefront of any and everything I do on this motorcycle or anybody's motorcycle, period. One mistake in the wrong spot is, some really bad consequences. So it's just, it's always on the forefront of my mind, and it's what I try to teach young mechanics coming in or anybody that's kind of half-assing it or whatever. It's like, hey man, there's repercussions when things don't go well, and we're all human and we all make mistakes. I think the biggest key is not to make the same one twice, learn from your errors, but you definitely you have to hold your work to a high standard, and think if you do that, kind of the rest should follow type of situation.
So at some point that you can only do so much from what the company that you work for gives you. So kind of talk about how much Factory Honda kind of holds that same regard.
I think that's one of and I'm probably kind of blind to it and spoiled in the sense that that's one thing really good about a team like Honda or maybe some of these other factories is just the resources, the reliability, the sustainability that the whole team or the parts package or whatever from Japan that we have access to and knowledge and things like that is it's superior product across the board. And, they've, had 20, 30 years of trial and error before I ever showed up to this team. And so they know, what works, what companies they can work with, where their part suppliers come from. They just have it figured out. And I think that's one of the nicest things about being a mechanic is you can kind of trust the process around here. You can trust your seniors, things like that you're just, there's not a guess here as far as product goes or anything like that, which, really ties into helping me do my job to give the finished product to a rider.
You've had a lot of different riders through the years. You can talk about Jesse Nelson, Tara Geiger, Cole Seeley, Christian Craig. Right now, obviously, with Kenny, has there ever been a rider when you're out testing and they want you to change something and you say, okay, yeah, I changed it, and then they say it's good, but you actually didn't change it, or, because it doesn't need to be changed?
As far as, trying to trick them on a change, I've never really done that. Sometimes I would like to, but
okay.
I don't know. There's kind of always that fear that if you change something without their knowledge or understanding, and then something goes wrong, then you're kind of at fault.
Yeah.
So try to steer away from that. But each rider is different in their own way as far as what they're picky about. Some are picky about tires or levers, and others don't care about that, and it's all about suspension, and others, focus way more on the motor and the delivery or, their quirks and nuances on race day and their routine. So it's just kind of to each their own. I think one of my traits or ability is to to learn that person and just their cues, their personality cues, their mental cues. Try to be able to read them at all times, know when they're high, know when they're low, and just be able to work around each person individually for that.
Well, let's stick with that topic for just a second. Obviously, the last couple of years, Ken's been dealing with some things, and from the outside, we don't necessarily know exactly what it is. He's tried to deal with some health issues and, all the things going on. What is your relationship like with Ken? Are you somebody that you guys have a close enough relationship where you can have a little pep talk, have a little just, comforting talk, or do you sort of stay away from that side and just talk about bike stuff and race stuff only?
Man, that's tough. I mean, I feel like we've done all and everything in between and more as far as conversation goes at times. Yes, he can be a mystery sometimes with what he has going on. And, I think there's a fine line sometimes where I have to, be on race day, no matter what he has going on. We still kind of have a job to do and a purpose and why we're there. So there's times where I have to, kind of look him in the eye and say, hey, man, I know there's some shit going on, but we're here to get a job done. So let's put our head down and do it. And then also there's times where, we have bad days or we know bad days are there. And you just kind of got to be supportive also and realize that even though the result's not there and the struggle and I'm frustrated, maybe the team's frustrated, and like you ultimately have to know that he is also like his frustration underneath the helmet when he's not feeling well or things aren't going great. I don't know. There's kind of that line where you can see it in a person where it's like, this is a time to be stern, or like, hey, this guy is just struggling. So he just needs some support right now.
Did it surprise you at all this past weekend that kind of what was considered to be probably the hottest, humidest, most humid conditions that we've had this season? Did it kind of surprise you to see how strong he was at the end of the second moto?
Honestly, nothing surprises me with him. Did I expect it given the last, 6 weeks of racing? No. But that's what makes Kenny special is you just never know, what day, he wants to show up and do that or put it down or battle late into that moto. I was super proud of him for it. Even the first moto, I mean, he had to hold off a charge from Dungey in both motos, and it was the way the overalls were working. We were kind of in a really rough spot right there with, 3 or 4 laps to go in the second moto. We had a chance to win it, or if we got past one more time, we would have got fourth. So, I'm not surprised. I think the key for all of us is just trying to figure that out with him and with the team and the bike and just be able to bring that every weekend.
It's kind of funny to say it that Dungey was fighting Roczen at the end of the moto. That sounds like something 7 years ago.
Yeah, literally.
It really does.
Yeah. How do you like being on the road? I believe I saw on your Instagram you're in a relationship. I don't know if you're married or have a girlfriend, but like is being on the road on the weekends, almost every weekend of the year, it seems like, is that a difficult thing or you still enjoy it?
Oh, I go back and forth on it. Okay. I still generally don't mind it as a whole. I do have a girlfriend. She's great. She works from home. She actually used to do this. She was a PR chick for KTM. So she did a couple years on the road with me. So she knows how it goes, and the routine and the flights and the early mornings and all that stuff. So she's super understanding there, which I'm really grateful for. I still love racing and I love what I do. So, I enjoy that part of it. However, I was able to buy a house a couple years ago. I have some good group of friends who like to go out on the boat every weekend. So sometimes it's hard, or, they'll send me videos or pictures and I'll be across the country working 14-hour days and they're just drinking beer on the boat. So that part kind of pulls at you and you're like, man, what if I was normal and I just had weekends off and could do this? But I'm not quite there yet.
If a position open, like something like Brian Krantz took, would that be ideal?
I'm kind of getting to that point in my career where I'm starting to consider those things, look at that stuff. Still unsure, what Kenny's doing with his contract right now. So we're waiting to figure that out. I think I will certainly be here for him.
Okay.
If he's here. If not, I'm maybe willing to explore one of those positions. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Okay. Supercross or motocross for you?
For me, it's motocross.
Okay. I was wrong.
A lot of people think different. I think motocross because it's just the root of the sport. It's what I grew up doing. I mean, it's how we all started, really. Supercross is great for the eyes and the glitz and glam and maybe the money, but outdoors, it's twice as hard on the rider. It's twice as much racing. It's twice as work for me. It's twice as hard on the bike. It's twice as hard on the team. So to go to do 1-1 on a national, like you got to be a bad dude on a motorcycle. And I feel like as a mechanic, as a team, you got to be badass too, because that doesn't just happen. We all work for years to be able to get in that position. So for it to come together on an outdoor, I think that just means more to me. There's just more work put into it.
I love it. It's not the answer I expected, and I like that. It was a surprise. So all right, I got one personality question. I ask this every once in a while for you before we let you go. This tells me what kind of person you are. When you hang your toilet paper roll, does toilet paper go towards the back against the wall, or does it come over the front like it's supposed to?
Oh, man. I think I'm a front guy.
Okay.
I feel like I argue with my girlfriend all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I argue just because I always want to put it opposite of however she does it, or if I actually prefer it in the
really
front.
Care. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a good answer. I enjoyed that. So cool. Jordan, man, thanks for taking some time. I know listeners maybe didn't get to hear at the beginning. You're still at work. You're still building bikes and working for another hour or so. So thank you for your time and taking a break to talk to us.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. See you, bud.